Alright, it is time for a Friday Reads video. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be my Friday Reads for Friday, February 18th, 2022, and in my Friday Reads I share the books that I finished, the books I started, and anything interesting that I'm carrying over week to week. It was a bit of an interesting week. It was a bit of a in-between week, or a bit of a break week, because most of my TBR picks I finished last week, so I had a bit more open for choice this week. That being said, the week did not quite go as I expected because things are still a little strange here, and I also have been watching a lot of the Olympics, and it is the last week of the Olympics, so I am letting myself watch as much as I wanted to. That being said, there was one day where there wasn't anything in particular that was calling me, so I did end up getting some finishes in that day. So let's look at that. So first up, I finally finished A Rake of Her Own by Michelle Willingham. I say finally, I think it took me 2 weeks, but it is a novelette, because it was 90 pages. I looked up, and I think, let me know if you use the distinction of short story, novelette, and novella. Let me know. This is the numbers that I came up from, well, that Google told me. So I'm going with 30 pages and under is a short story, up to 100 pages is a novelette, and then 100 to 200 pages is a novella, and then after that it's a novel. Let me know. Do you agree with those numbers? I feel like because I'm focusing on shorter works this year, it might be interesting to break that down a little bit and track it and see how it goes. Because normally I would just do, I think, short story and then novella. And I've never used Novelette before. I know Mindy uses Novelette. So Mindy, if you're watching, do you have a number, or do you look at the publication work and does it state somewhere? And also page counts can vary depending on like how you're reading it, and some Kindle converted stuff, the page counts are a little ambiguous, or a little don't feel like they are what they say they are. Anyway, let's get away from the numbers. Let's get back to, because often when I looked it up not by page count, it was by word, and I'm like, I'm not counting the words. I'm not going that far. I will go to page count. Anyway, so A Rake of Her Own by Michelle Willingham. This is a novelette at the 90 pages, and it is a historical romance set at a wedding in this sort of castle situation. There's a light trilogy of these stories. This was initially published within bind up of novelettes, I guess, or novellas, and called Breathless, I think, and they're at Castle Keenor or something like that. I've read the first one, but this one was republished as an individual work and is available on Scribd and ebook, as a lot of Michelle Willingham's work actually is now available on Scribd, which is very exciting. I'm very happy about that. She is an author that I am working my way through all of her work. So anyway, so I finished this. I started it last week or the week before sometime, and it features it's a male-female couple, and the woman has had a couple seasons, but nothing has come from it, and her mom is saying, okay, you're going to marry that guy, right? And someone she doesn't even really remember meeting. But at this wedding, there's this big wedding that takes, a week or whatever. So all these people are, hanging out at the wedding, actual wedding. And then there's also the male character. He also needs to get married, but he needs to marry into money because he has two sisters and was left with a lot of debt from their father. But they meet each other, and they're not supposed to be who they're supposed to be interested in, and she actually is not really interested in getting married at all, and but then romance ensues, hijinks, and I quite loved it. I quite enjoyed it. The chemistry was really great. I really liked the writing. I really like Michelle Willingham, and as I said, I'm working my way through her work, so it was great to read A Rake of Her Own. So that was a lot of fun, and then I also read some lighter stuff. I read Hex-Vet. It's hard to get that. Witches in Training by Sam Davies. This is a kid's comic about two kids who are like interning at a witch in veterinarian. So that's run by witches. So I don't even remember what this character was called. This creature. So it's just like, it's sort of is what it says on the tin. It's some hijinks and adventure in a light fantasy world, and it was just quite lovely. And there is a second one. I got this from Hoopla. I think it might have come up in the bonus borrows at some point, but I did borrow it this time just because it looked really cute and just a little light, which is kind of what I felt like, and so it was. So that was wonderful. And then I also pressed the wrong thing. Or not pressed. And then I also read Heathen. This is comics bind up. This is by Natasha Alterisi and illustrations by Rachel Deering. So this is a Norse mythology inspired adventure LGBTQ story. Follows the protagonist was ousted from her community because she was caught kissing a girl, and then she decides to go and save Brunhild, who was I don't know if she was the leader of the Valkyries or the queen of the Valkyries. I'm not quite sure what the right term is. And then she has her horse named Saga. So this was really great. I really enjoyed it. There was some of the choices I was a little like on, but generally speaking, I really liked it. I really like the art style. I love the story. I love more Norse mythology, so this was a shoo-in for me, and it was a win. I thought it was great. I will continue to go on and read volume 2 again. I like She'd Be Cold, but generally speaking, I love the art. So there's a little you gotta go with it a little bit for some of the clothing choices, but generally speaking, I thought it was great. So I'm really happy that I picked that. Both of these would work for my A to Z graphic novel and comics challenge, but I am picking Heathen. I did read it first, so there's that. In terms of what I'm currently reading, my current Ibsen play is An Enemy of the People. This is actually really interesting given the time that we're in because it centers on a family. There is a doctor and a mayor who are brothers, and they're both on a committee for the baths. There's apparently these they're making baths at this location that are supposed to be a tourist kind of attraction and invigorate the city or the area, but the doctor finds out that there is a health concern, that the water is not okay, but the mayor, who's his brother, tells him he can't tell anyone about that because that's not his role, and so there's a bit of a push-pull political drama. And it's also amazing because the mayor wants the city to be prosperous and the money to come in and not to look bad, and all of these things. So it's amazing to see a play from over 100 years ago having, issues that we face, all the time, like money or health. I mean, that's a very prevalent issue right now these days. So it's been interesting to read. I am a little behind on this. I have only read the first 2 acts out of 5, but as I said, my reading has been a bit off and on this week because Olympics in life and stuff, it happens. I also started but haven't gotten very far in the Demon's Lexicon by Sarah Reese Brennan. This is one of the oldest books on my Goodreads TBR. It totally has vibes from Supernatural. 2 brothers, paranormal elements. They are fighting things they know about the paranormal and other people don't. I have to say, I've only read the first chapter and a half, and already I'm getting a little red flaggy on some of the things. The protagonist, at least who appears to be the protagonist, seems like a bit of a jerk, and not very... He doesn't really care about other people, and and there's a couple of potential red flags. So I don't know. I have it's too early to say no for me, but I haven't gotten to this one. I think it's because I'm always in the middle of so many things, but it is on the radar, and depending what ends up being my TBR jar pick, I may or may not be able to get to this next week. I haven't done my TBR jar picks yet. I am filming this so I don't influence myself while I'm doing this video, but depending on what my speculative fiction pick is, I might return to this next week, or I might end up not returning into it for a while, so I don't know. Other stuff that I have returned to, The Reptile Room I'm rereading The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket. This is the second in the series of Unfortunate Events. I need to finish this one. I was going to finish it yesterday, but that didn't happen. I only have 4 chapters left. It'll be fine. And yeah, so this is the buddy read right now with Izzy and Kate Kelly. And the live show is Tuesday the 22nd, if I believe. I will put the information down below. So I need to finish this, but I am very, very close to the end. And yeah, and I hope that everyone is enjoying their read or reread. I am enjoying this. This is a great book. It is so great. So I am really enjoying that. I also have returned to The Stone Angel by Margaret Lawrence. So this was one of my second TBR jar picks, but I put it aside for What Strange Paradise. So I came back to it this week, and I'm only on page 26, but it's so good. It is so good. So yeah, so I'm hoping to make more progress on that, but we shall see. And then again, depending on what my TBR jar picks are, I may or may not pick up The Tie That Binds by Jane Ann Krentz, I think. I really hope I get to this. I want to get to this month because I want to participate in Storm Reed's retro romance readathon, and this feels like it's so perfect. And the female protagonist's name is Shannon. It's pretty rare. I don't run across that very often. And this was from 1986. So I think Storm is saying we're supposed to read anything pre-2000s. So that would qualify 1986. So yes, excited about that. So we'll have to see. It depends on what my romance pick is. I have no idea what those picks are going to be. That's what I'm going to film next. I'm really looking forward to seeing what will come up, and it's been good. I think I sort of been like focusing on the jar picks for about 3 weeks and then taking a break week or sometimes 2. So I think the jars might take me all year, which was not my intention, but that might be fine. It's actually, because it's 10 titles in 4 jars, which is 40 titles, which is a fair amount. I thought I could read all of them in a season. What was I thinking? Or, I don't know. I guess I did the time math a bit. I guess I didn't realize I would want to read anything else, which of course I do, but right now I'm not reading as much because Olympics, yeah, so I've been watching a lot of the Olympics again, and I've been watching a lot of the curling and the snowboarding. Overall, those have been the 2 sports that I've watched the most. I've watched a little bit of the figure skating. Of course, there's been some controversy with the figure skating. I'm not going to go into that, yeah, but the snowboarding has been very great. I love the announcers for the snowboarding. They're so enthusiastic, and it's a lot of fun. And the curling has been okay. I was heartbroken. I've been following, I don't know why this happened, but I've been following the men's Swiss team, so from Switzerland, and the women's Japanese team. I think they both played Canada early on, and I ended up really enjoying the teams, so I ended up following them. I watched the Canadian games as well, but the men's Swiss team is really great, and it was so heartbreaking. They played against Sweden for their last game, and they were out. Swiss was they were playing in their last round robin game, but they weren't they wouldn't move forward, win or lose. And Sweden was going to move forward, win or lose. So it's a bit of a weird energy in terms of a game for Sweden. Depending if they won, they would have a better placement. I don't know how all of that scoring the tournament works, but anyway, it is just a weird situation. So both teams know on the onset one's moving forward, one's not moving forward, and then Switzerland beat Sweden, and it was such an intense game, and the last shot was amazing, and I just but they're not moving forward, and so it was heartbreaking. And so anyway, but I enjoyed watching them the entire tournament, for the entire round robin tournament. I watched a fair amount of their games. I listened to so many different commentators during their games, and the guy who commented, was a commentator during the Sweden game, was great. He was so enthusiastic. And one of the things that's sort of a weird thing about curling, but maybe good, I guess, is that it seems like the announcers are always always cheering for whoever's throwing the rock. So you're always hoping someone makes the shot. And sometimes I find that a bit frustrating when I'm watching Canada, because I'm kind of like, shouldn't you be cheering Canada? You know, like I feel like they were, especially during the Canada-American game, like I felt like they kind of wanted the U.S. to win. And I'm like, really? Like the round robin game, Canada's playing the U.S. for the bronze. I'm pre-filming this, so I think that game will have happened by the time this goes up. Anyway, but for the men's team from Switzerland, they were fantastic, and it was heartbreaking too, because Japan's women's team, which I was following, they're so enthusiastic and they're so positive, and they played against Switzerland, actually the women's Switzerland team, and they lost, and it was heartbreaking. And but as it turns out, because of just how things fell, it was apparently a very complicated scoring situation to see who goes forward. Japan actually is going forward to the semifinals, and they will be, I think, playing Switzerland again. So and the Swiss team is good. So yeah. So anyway, it's just I've really been enjoying the curling. I've been enjoying all of the different announcers. I think there's a Scottish woman who announced the Japan-Swiss women's game, and she is lovely. She does so much context, and she's so encouraging, and like, for every single game that I've watched, she's explained things so well, and I appreciate that. As someone who only watches curling during the Olympics, I need the context. I don't, I can tell, if someone's like, oh, they missed the shot. It's like, why did they miss the shot? What shot were they going for? How does this impact in the next round? What would they think to do this? Like, I don't just want to know they missed it or they didn't miss it. More context would be helpful. So anyway, big thank you to the announcers of curling, and to all of the teams. I've really enjoyed watching, and the snowboarding has been great. It wrapped up a bit early, and I guess, of course, Canada won gold for women's hockey, so go Canada. I didn't watch that game. I watched the curling. Yeah. Well, I like to pick and stick, and I'm so sad that I missed almost all of the speed skating, because it was all like really in the middle of the night, like 3:30, 4:35. I think there was one at 1:30. So I enjoy it. I find it exciting, but that's really late. That's really late. Even the curling is tough. They often played at 8. 1 in the morning and 7 in the morning. So I didn't get to all the games, but some I watched on replay. But anyway, so so that's my Olympic stuff. I am definitely going to watch the bronze and gold medal games and some of this, and hopefully one of the semifinals, depending on when they are, for the curling. And I guess men's hockey is one of the last things that will happen. I don't know. I don't follow that one. So yeah, but let me know if you're watching the Olympics. Is there anything in particular you're looking forward to this final weekend? I would love to watch the closing ceremony, but it's at like 6:30 in the morning on Sunday, I think. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I missed the opening too, which is very rare. I just been a little less prepared for this Olympics, but I'm glad that I jumped in and I saw as much as I did. And it's been really, really fun and nice given all of the things. Does look like things here are getting a little bit better, but it's still surprising that it's not cleared up yet. At least the last time I checked. So hopefully progress, and we'll see how things go. So let me know what you were up to, what you've been reading, and if, as I said, if you're watching the Olympics, is there anything you're looking forward to on this final weekend? All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video. As I said, I am going to do my TBR jar picks, so that'll go up sometime next week, hopefully on Monday. Yeah, I'm so curious as to what they will be. That's what I'll be filming next. Very exciting. Thank you so much for watching.